News Radio KMAN weather.
Beautiful, beautiful Friday on tap today as we head for a high of 80 under a sunny sky. 54 and clear overnight, then a slight chance of a shower or thunderstorm tomorrow afternoon. 88 for the high, partly cloudy, 58 tomorrow night. Sunny, 90 on Sunday. Clear skies, 63 Sunday night. Winds pick up out of the south on Monday, gusting up to 25 miles an hour as we warm to a high near 90 once again. 50% chance of showers and thunderstorms Monday night, an 80% chance expected on Tuesday of next week. Back to 50 Tuesday night and a slight chance on Wednesday.
KMAN Daily Weather is presented by Fox Business Systems. How much does downtime cost you and your business? Don't let another second go by. Call Fox Business Systems at 776-1452.
It's now time for a state track and field update from Wichita on News Radio KMAN.
It's presented this season by Cool Enterprises, Lawn Management, and Pest Control. Mitch Fortner back with you from Cessna Stadium in Wichita. Let's first start with our running events. The 3,200-meter finals for 1 through 3A just wrapped up. The times are coming in. We don't have the time yet for Riley County's Jeter Adams, the sophomore on the track for the Falcons, just wrapped up. But moments ago as well, Blue Valley's Titus Cobb finishing in 13th place in 1A boys with a time of 10 minutes, 22.17 seconds. A season best for Titus, finishing in 13th place here at state. Now, over to the field side of things, right behind me, the javelins are being thrown, but nobody local throwing the javelin as of right now. But we do have 3 student athletes currently competing in triple jump, and it appears that the first points of the day will be going to Riley County. Freshman Sarah Effiong, who had the 13th best jump heading into state for 3A girls. And it appears with just a couple of jumpers left to go with their third attempts that she is going to, looks like, finish in the top 8. And right now in 7th place is Sarah Effiong. Well, it was a bad day, bad morning for Frankfurt's Holland Shirley, the junior and 1A girls pole vault. Her 3 attempts, she did not clear the bar, so she will not register a jump, a measurement, so she will scratch 3 times and unfortunately will not place. In the discus, still in action, still with another throw to go, is a heck of a student athlete, Brennan Woodard, who's a sophomore at Riley County, currently competing in discus. Now, coming up in our next segment for the field events here at State, maybe the story of the morning for our local student athletes is Jace Woodard. A tremendous student athlete for Riley County. He is a senior who last year placed in 3rd in the triple jump. Now he has the 8th best C jump heading into state, but he is a favorite to be a top 3 placer. At least you assume by last year's results that he has a great shot at once again finishing with a top 3 finish. Riley Brockman, a freshman from Blue Valley, also competing in 9:45. She is in the 1A girls long jump. And still to come here very shortly as the 3,200-meter finals wraps up 1 through 3A. Again, 1 through 3A will be our first part of the day with a lot of prelims going on. The 100-meter hurdles for the girls. The prelims are next. Tessa Parthamer, who was 3rd last year, she's about to start her run on the track. And then Riley County's Anna Lambert is coming up here very shortly in 3A. She is a senior. And then the 4x100-meter relays will be coming up next for the prelims in both the girls and boys 1 through 3A. Our next update coming up at 10:30, and also keep in mind as well, newsradiokman.com. We have a running tally going there of our local student athletes competing at State Track and Field. With this State Track and Field update, I'm Mitch Fortner for News Radio KMAN.
Digging deeper into the conversations, trends, and ideas impacting Manhattan and the Flint Hills. This is Within Reason with Mike Matson on News Radio KMAN.
This is an odd-numbered year, and in Kansas that means this year we will elect those who lead our cities and our public school systems. This summer and fall, we intend to be purposeful about inviting each of those with the courage and the fortitude to ask for your vote for the Manhattan City Commission and the USD 383 School Board. My guest today is one of those candidates. She is Leah McKeeman. She is running for the school board. My name is Mike Matson. I'm a one-time broadcast journalist. I describe myself as a recovering political operative and lobbyist. These days, I'm an author and a columnist for the Manhattan Mercury, and I bring what I describe as a career's worth of journalistic instincts to this job. Your host for this program, we call it Within Reason. It is a news media vehicle that seeks, and very often finds, the second thought. We're live on News Radio KMAN. We're live streaming on YouTube. If you'd like to watch us visually, you can go to that website, search News Radio KMAN, and there you will find us. And we're being recorded and will be posted as a podcast on the KMAN website, made available wherever you get your podcasts. Within Reason is presented by Stormont Vale Health, by McCown Gordon Construction and the Trust Company. Leah McKeeman, welcome to our show.
Thank you very much.
You have already had some excitement today with respect to your candidacy.
Yes, I went and filed this morning right before I was here.
So you are a formal candidate for the USD 383 School Board. We're going to talk about your motivation and what drives you to do that. But before we get into that, help us understand who you are. Give us the Leah McKeeman life story.
Well, I'm a K-State grad, did my undergraduate here. That's where I met my husband. And then we moved to the D.C. area for a little while, moved back and for jobs and for school. And then I ended up working on my PhD while I was back here. And then I have the best job in the world, which is getting to work with future educators. And so I've been a teacher, I've been a teacher since, well, that's where I started.
Okay.
I had no other direction. That's what I wanted to do. I've been seeking out ways to be in education. And so now getting to work with new educators is really exciting. I have 4 kids of my own. My oldest is 15. My youngest is 8. Goodness, that's a little bit about me.
That's a good start. So help us understand. You're a teacher. You're an instructor at K-State. Help us understand what you do.
Yep. So I am an assistant teaching professor in the College of Education at K-State. I work with undergraduates and graduate students, finding ways for us to get teachers that are highly qualified into the classroom. And so I do a multitude of courses. I'm kind of in charge of the programming for world languages and preparing world language teachers. And then I also do some literacy classes. So content area literacy, how secondary teachers can bring that literacy piece into their classrooms. And like I said, yeah, I have the best job around.
Leah McKeeman is our guest. She's a candidate for the USD 383 School Board. There are 3 positions open this year. So far, there are 4 candidates. If there are more, and there may be, we have a filing deadline, which is roughly a little more than 24 hours plus business hours, so Monday at noon is the filing deadline. So where'd you grow up?
So I grew up in Overland Park, and that's where I did all of my, I guess, pre-schooling there. And then once I decided to go to college, I moved to K-State, and as we were talking a little bit ago, Manhattan is home. Keeps calling us back, and even if we kind of venture out, we had a stint in the D.C. area, we had a stint in Boston when my husband was doing his master's work, but we just keep coming back home to Manhattan here.
What do you like most about the job that you currently have at K-State?
I love the people that I work with. I think that the College of Education in general has dynamic educators, but I love working with this new generation of teachers. Their excitement, their enthusiasm, their curiosity, I think it's fantastic.
Leah McKeeman is our guest. She is a candidate for the USD 383 Board of Education. She filed for office this morning. This is one of the things we hope to do, we intend to do this summer and fall on this show, is invite on all candidates who have filed for office, Manhattan City Commission, USD 383 School Board. We think it gives you, our listeners, a chance to size up the candidates, right? Make your own determination as to whether they can earn your vote. And so we would encourage you to listen carefully to the candidates and how they respond to the questions that we put in front of them. So foreign languages, right? Mm-hmm. So are you fluent in more than one?
Well, I'm learning because I was a former French teacher. So I did French. My husband likes to joke I did diapers to diplomas. And now not all of that was in French, but when we were in the D.C. area, I started a preschool, a faith-based preschool. And so that's where the diapers piece comes in. And then that drew me, and I've done elementary French education. I've done high school French education. I've had a little bit of middle school experiences as well. And now being at the graduate and undergraduate level, I do speak French, but then as I have students come in, I have enough language ability under my belt that I can follow mostly what's going on, at least at a basic level.
Leah McKeeman is our guest. She's a candidate for the USD 383 Board of Education. And so is it safe to say, would you describe yourself as sort of a teacher of teachers?
Very much so. Yep, that's what I do.
And that's clearly what the College of Education does at Kansas State University.
Absolutely.
So help us understand what, a lot of people think about running for school board, not all that many people do. Walk us through sort of your decision-making spectrum in terms of when you first thought about it and how you came to the decision that you were going to run.
Sure. Well, for me, teaching and education is a calling. It's not a job. It's a calling. And so I have sought out ways to be involved with education throughout my life. When I was in high school, I worked at the Schmeasel. It was basically an environmental lab that we would take elementary kids and we would walk them through the environment. So I did that. I started a preschool. Now with kids of my own, I am involved in the site council for both the middle school and high school, and then I'm the PTO president for my kids' elementary school. So I'm always seeking ways to get involved, be involved with education. I think that collaboration and partnership is really important. And so this just seemed like a really logical next step as far as getting involved with the school board and having a voice on that platform.
Leah McKeeman is our guest. She is a candidate for the USD 383 school board. She filed for office this morning. 4 children in
Yes.
the USD 383
Yes.
system, right? And you had just touched on your experience within that system, right? A lot of parents get involved. And so I'll make an assumption that in your site council work and all of that work where you're surrounded by this system and this environment, you thought, my gosh, I think I could bring something to bear.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that there's a lot of value in lots of different areas within education. Everyone brings their own perspective, their own unique stance on things, and it is a complex system, and there is no one right or wrong answer, and everyone has their own kind of hot buttons that make them want to be in the schools and want to be in education. And so I just really enjoy hearing about all those different pieces. I love my work on the site councils, being able to see the schools a little bit as a bigger picture on what that looks like, being able to work with teachers, going on field trips with my kids, everything from in the classroom to that bigger picture I really value.
The site council work probably this is sort of a stretch, but maybe it's a farm club, right? And if you serve at the site council level, you get exposed to how the system is governed, and then you get the opportunity then to make a decision that you're going to run or you're not run. So you've been thinking about it for several months? Help us understand the timeline.
I have been thinking about it. Yeah, I would say that probably even 6 months, the thought kind of started floating in my mind. And then I explored it a little bit more and realized that this was one of those election years. And the time just seemed right. My kids are, again, they're still... My youngest is a newly minted third grader, so he's moving into third grade, but he's still, able to do a lot on his own right now. And even though I have my hand involved in different areas of our community, this is an area that I felt that I really could give back. I think one of the most important things we can do is educate our kids. And one of the ways that I could support that is to look at it from kind of that holistic piece.
What's your sense of the most recent policy moves that the school board has made? Are you in sync with what they're doing with respect to screens in classrooms and school resource officers? Just help us understand how you size them up currently.
Well, I think that they've done a really nice job as far as having conversations about what that looks like, specifically with the technology policy. I think that it was great that they had some open forums. I thought it was wonderful that the school board said, hey, here's a great book to kind of spark that conversation, get that conversation going. And I thought that was a really valuable way of entering into all of that. I think that Mr. Dorst has done a great job as far as educating both the student population and the parents and the community in general as far as what that looks like. So all of that, I think, has been really, really well done.
Leah McKeeman is our guest. She is a candidate for the USD 383 Board of Education. We're visiting with her today about her candidacy and what motivates her. What's the last book you read?
So again, my I still do stories at night with my kids. And the latest one that we read is A Giraffe and a Half by Shel Silverstein. So if you haven't read it, it's a really fun one.
And it's one of those things where, the third grader probably enjoys it more than the 15-year-old would be my guess.
You would be surprised. There's times where they say, I remember that book. And so as he's walking by, they'll stop and they'll linger and they'll pause. Sometimes the third grader is exposed to some chapter books as well, and so we kind of dabble around. But Giraffe and a Half was last night's book.
Leah McKeeman describes herself as a passionate educator, devoted mom and wife and traveler, a lifelong learner, a curious and creative individual. Earlier this morning, she became a candidate for one of 3 seats on the ballot this year for the USD 383 Manhattan-Ogden School Board. Our conversation with Leah McKeeman will continue. Stay with us.
This is Within Reason with Mike Matson on News Radio KMAN.
At Stormont Vale Health, our patients are our neighbors and our communities our home.
We invest in your health and our community by bringing high-quality healthcare closer to home. From our Wamego Clinic to our new campus in Manhattan and the Flint Hills Hospital in Junction City. Our partnerships with organizations like the Mayo Clinic and the Children's Miracle Network bring top-notch expertise to our region. We take pride in local collaboration to stay connected to our communities. Visit StormontVale.org.
Stormont Vale Health, high-quality care closer to home.
Manhattan Broadcasting is keeping it local. Dollars spent locally today help build a better community for tomorrow.
Quality Collision is still open for business while they improve the intersection by the dam. Dodging a few orange cones is worth it to receive quality restoration. Keep your car looking as good as the day you bought it. Quality Collision, where quality is more than their name. It's a promise to their customers.
Connect to anywhere in the world with 5 daily flights to Dallas and Chicago when you fly local with Manhattan Regional Airport. You'll spend less time driving, saving you gas and time. And more importantly, you'll get home quicker to the ones you love. Click your next flight at flymhk.com.
Come to Baskin-Robbins and check out the new Lava Colada. It's like a pina colada without the rum and just a touch of strawberry. Refreshing for muggy spring days. Or come check out our great spring flavors. Baskin-Robbins at Manhattan Marketplace. Streeter family business. Our family serving yours.
Manhattan Broadcasting is keeping it local. Find more great local businesses plus special deals and offers when you keep it local on our website.
Get your passport, sunscreen, and week's vacation ready for an all-expense-paid trip to Cabo San Lucas, courtesy of U-Stop Phillips 66 and the Friendship House. Your chance to get registered to become an instant finalist this week is at Feldkamp's Furniture, just off Highway 24. Stop into Feldkamp's Furniture and register for your chance to win an all-expense-paid trip to Cabo San Lucas. On this Friday from noon to 1 p.m., 10 instant finalists will be one step closer for their chance to win. So get into Feldkamp's Furniture, just off Highway 24 in Manhattan, and get registered today. Passport to Cabo is brought to you by U-Stop Phillips 66 and the Friendship House.
The Ramsey Show.
The problem is the stupid banks will loan you so much money that they put you in bankruptcy because they don't have an off button. They'll just loan you money. You can go get a credit card. You can go on a trip you can't afford. You can go down here and get a car. There's actually people out there walking around that still think that if the bank will loan it to you, it means you can pay it. The same people that think if you have checks left in your checkbook, there must be money in the account. Same people.
Life and money advice. The Ramsey Show, weekdays from 10 to 1 on News Radio KMAN. Your daily dose of sports conversation. The game starts at 4. This is Within Reason with Mike Matson on News Radio KMAN.
Leah McKeeman is an assistant professor of modern language education at Kansas State University. This morning, at the Riley County Courthouse, she plunked down the filing fee, signed her name on the official documents, and became a candidate for the USD 383 Manhattan-Ogden Board of Education. So an assistant professor of modern language.
An assistant professor of teaching. Yep, I am in the College of Education. I work with undergraduates and graduates, and there's a lot of different programs that we're doing. One of the ones I'll tell you about this summer. So this summer I'm doing some online courses, and we have a program called the MAT program. So it's a Master's of Arts in Teaching, and I will say that recruitment and retention is always challenging for teachers, and so as a response to the ever-present need for good teachers in our classroom, the College of Ed decided to create this program, and it's mainly geared for those mid-career individuals who want to make a shift. So they already have a degree, but they're saying, you know what? economics isn't for me. This is not where I want to be. I don't want to be in the bank anymore, but I want to be in the classroom. And so I work with certain pockets of students that are deciding to make that shift. A lot of the students that I work with are fluent in whatever language they're wanting to do, but they decided that, they've been paras, or they have been, that's another way that we get students, is they've been paras, and they decide, I want to actually be that teacher in the classroom.
Those individuals that you described that are involved in that program, are there more of them today than there was 5-10 years ago?
I think we're finding where they're at. Instead of just looking at education the same way, looking at how we prepare teachers the same way, we're having to get more creative and say, it's not just within Kansas, but how can we pull our students, so pre-service teachers, from a different environment, a different location, and get them prepared so that they can have that quality education and be supported in the classroom.
Leah McKeeman is our guest today. She is a candidate for the USD 383 Board of Education. The election will be held in November of this year. If there is a sufficient quantity of candidates who file by the Monday deadline, there may be a primary. Right now there are 4 who have filed. There'll have to be a lot more than that in order to make a primary. Our goal today is to help our listeners size up the candidate, get a sense of who they are and what drives them, what motivates them to run. Leah McKeeman is describing her, right now she's describing her sort of public work, or her job, how she earns a living, puts bread on the table. So when you think about, Leah, this notion of what you do for a living, right, you described it as a calling. Help us understand, how long have you felt that way?
As long as I can remember, to be very honest. When you graduate, you want to make money, right? You want to be able to put bread on the table, to pay your bills. But going into the schools every day, it is not about that. I go in and I'm excited to see the kids, whether they are little kids or big kids. Like, that's the thing that gets me excited. I don't count my hours. I don't look at how much time I'm putting in. The job is there, and I want to do the best that I can do so that they're doing the best that they can do, and that's the exciting piece for me.
When you teach teachers, right? When you train those who will eventually be in front of a classroom, clearly that's a skill set that you have developed over your career. But is that sort of the kernel, or help us understand how that experience has led you to think about, I might have something to offer to the governing board of my school board?
Well, it's kind of like, if you think about a spider web and the stretch and the expanse of that, if you were the teacher in the classroom, you are impacting the students in your classroom. And I do not take that for granted, as far as that opportunity that I can give and that passion that I can share to impact their lives. But that is a small amount. And then when you look at that training teachers, my excitement, my service goes to them, and then they're able to extend that spider web out. And so this is just another way to expand that even further.
We are visiting today with Leah McKeeman. She, as of today, is a candidate for the USD 383 school board here in the Manhattan-Ogden district. You filed this morning. You plunked down the filing fee. Have you thought about the campaign, or are you thinking about service on the school board? Help us understand how you view that.
Well, my focus is service on the school board. That's the thing that gets me excited. And the campaign is the thing where I look at it as an elephant, and I just eat one bite of the elephant at the time. And so I'm just chewing along, and I'm going to get through that campaign. It's a new skill set that I am not as familiar with, and so I'm learning as I go. But the thing that excites me is the possibility and the potential for that service on the school board.
When you think about your job professionally, right, training teachers, and you think about teachers in the classroom, the folks that you train and where they eventually will end up, do we ask too much of classroom teachers these days?
We ask a lot of classroom teachers. But all of the great teachers I know, we step up to that challenge. And so I think that there's the big thing that I think is one of the most important things is to make sure that our teachers are seen and supported. And then they're willing to do that. They care about every student in their classroom. Again, whether they're the little ones or big ones, they care about them. They want to be successful. And so if we can help our teachers be seen, be supported, give them the tools that they need, empower them, and say, you know what's the right thing for your classroom, how can I support you to make that happen? I think a lot of that that stress and that extra stuff that they're being asked to do becomes a little less heavy because we're sharing that burden with them.
Leah McKeeman is our guest. She's a candidate for the USD 383 school board. With respect to this sort of evolution of teachers, has it changed in your career teaching them in terms of the way they approach their work?
For sure. There's been lots of, I think, pivotal moments. I think that we have moved from the sage on the stage for teaching to more of the guide on the side, where our students really do, the magic happens when they can be actively involved, when they can be in the driver's seat of their learning and their education. And so that has definitely been a shift, I believe. I also see that as far as teachers go, we're getting out of our silos of expertise, so to speak. And so we have our content knowledge, we have our skill set and our knowledge that we bring, but it's a perspective. And then we're able to tackle that from multiple different perspectives and create a more holistic, powerful product for our students as they're learning.
We are visiting with Leah McKeeman. She's a candidate for the USD 383 Board of Education in the Manhattan-Ogden district. You'd mentioned earlier that the school board, the existing school board, right, and their conversation they had with the community about screen time, right, and they asked board members and leaders in the community to read this book, Jonathan Haidt's The Anxious Generation. And the basic premise, if you haven't read the book, the premise of Haidt's book is that we are raising a generation of children that are anxious and are perhaps suffering from anxiety at a level that their previous generations have not. Do you buy that?
I think that there's a lot of validity to that. I think that it's interesting. Before, and I'm going to say before COVID, teachers can be scary people. We don't mean to be scary people, but it's a person of authority and of power. And so when you have a student, to have that courage to come to the teacher and say, I don't understand what's going on, or I need some more help. It takes a little bit of courage to do that at times. And so now, instead of just coming to the teacher, it's a lot easier to just be able to, go and send an email or whatnot. And I think it's a very important skill to learn and skill to have. But there is definitely a shift there. And I think that if we can get our students to really focus on that interaction, talking with others, being mentally engaged with the task at hand, that's going to be the winning ticket.
Social media clearly plays into this, right? And that's a big part of Haidt's premise as well, is that social media it has its good points, but it has its bad points too, right? And so do you think we're seeing sort of this bell curve, I guess, in terms of the way that society thinks of social media, especially as it relates to younger children?
Yeah. I think it's a pendulum swing, where we go from one side to the other. Technology's here. It's not going anywhere. When I look at adults, when I look at my adult students that I have in the classroom, they always have a phone. They're having a tablet. We have those necessary requirements that I don't think is going to go away. But how we interact with it, how we use it to be responsible with it, that is the piece that I think that we really need to keep teaching our students, but then also model ourselves.
Leah McKeeman is our guest. She is a candidate for the USD 383 school board here in the Manhattan-Ogden district. She filed this morning officially as a candidate. So you've been a candidate formally, what, 3 or 4 hours now?
Maybe, yeah. Yep.
Feel any different now than you did when you got up this morning?
It's starting.
I can imagine that is the case. So who was your favorite teacher growing up?
Oh, I had a lot of great teachers. I remember my first grade teacher, Mrs. Williamson. She was like the epitome of the caring teacher. My third grade teacher, Mrs. Cardwell, was tough, and I loved her. And during the time, it was probably hit or miss, but she was fantastic. My biology teacher was phenomenal. He really had a way to make us think deeply about the topics. My French teacher, she was the first person who took me out of the country and kind of broadened my worldview and perspectives. Then my mentor teacher, Dr. Staver, I kind of followed in her footsteps, and I'm doing what she did. And again, it's the best job around.
Do you think of yourself as a mentor?
Yes.
And how does that manifest itself, especially when you think about the experience you had as a mentee?
Yeah. I guess I am a mentor, but at the same time, I don't think about that. I think more of I'm just trying to model what I want to see done out in the schools. So if I can set that example, then hopefully others will do the same. And if I'm not setting that example, then That's one of the reasons, again, I'm passionate about education. And so that's one of the reasons that I decided to file for school board is I have this passion and I want to give back and to contribute and to be involved with that. And so I'm setting that example.
Leah McKeeman is our guest. She is a candidate for the USD 383 Board of Education. There are 3 seats on the 7-member board that are up for election this year. So far, there are 4 candidates. The filing deadline is noon on Monday. That got here pretty quick. June 2nd rolled around, and all of a sudden, the filing deadline has arrived. Leah, when you think about your upbringing, what's the most important lesson that you learned from your mother?
Oh, most important lesson. That's a tough one. I would say that from my parents, I learned a lot about being respectful to others, being a good listener. Usually the people who are some of the smartest in the room sometimes don't say the most. They're there to listen. They're there to hear all perspectives. And so that is something that both my parents, my mom and dad, definitely taught me to do.
It is an election year here in Manhattan and across Kansas, local elections. We will vote this summer and fall, or we'll vote this summer if there's a primary, this fall in the general, for candidates for the school board and the city commission. Here on Within Reason, we intend to be purposeful about inviting all who seek to represent you on the Manhattan City Commission and the Manhattan-Ogden School Board. Leah McKeeman seeking one of 3 seats on the ballot this year for the USD 383 Board of Education. We will have more with candidate Leah McKeeman after the break. Stay with us.
This is Within Reason with Mike Matson on News Radio, KMAN.
We've been dreaming along with you about the ultimate escape to the U-Stop Phillips 66 and Friendship House's all-expense-paid trip to Cabo San Lucas. Lucky for you, we can't win it. Are you an instant finalist yet? Time is running out, so be sure to listen to News Radio KMAN to find out where your next opportunity is to become one step closer to winning. You'll hear from one of us if your name has been selected, and you'll want to make sure your paperwork is filled out before the final event at Briggs Auto Lane in Manhattan on June 20th. There'll be music, fun, giveaways, and of course the final drawing to see who's headed to paradise. Cabo is calling. Will you answer? Stay tuned to News Radio KMAN and find out how you can become an instant finalist for the U-Stop Phillips 66 and Friendship House all-expense-paid trip to Cabo San Lucas. We'll see you June 20th at Briggs Auto Lane in Manhattan.
Blueville Nursery's Horticulture Hints radio show comes to your radio every Friday morning at 10 a.m. We will discuss timely gardening and landscape topics to help you keep your lawn and garden in tip-top shape. Blueville Nursery has been your local landscape service and garden store for over 50 years, and we want to share our time-tested techniques with you. From vegetable gardening, spring and summer annuals, to shade trees and lawn care, we'll cover it all. You're welcome to call into the show to ask questions that apply to your own landscape or garden. Stay tuned to Blueville Nursery's Horticulture Hints radio show every Friday at 10 a.m. right here on News Radio KMAN.
The Ramsey Show.
Up to 50% of American families are paying their adult children's bills to an average of $1,482 a month. Wow. I've never seen it like this. 25% of millennials, their parents are paying their housing, house payment, their rent, or they're living in their basement. You pay your kids' bills. Psychologists call that enabling. As a matter of fact, enabling is quite the opposite of loving.
Go from paycheck to purpose with The Ramsey Show. Weekdays 10 to 1 on News Radio, KMAN. A trip to Cabo, courtesy of U-Stop Phillips 66, the Friendship House, and News Radio KMAN. Listen to KMAN's Morning News for details and chances to win.
The filing deadline is noon Monday for those who seek to represent you on your community's municipal governing board, city council or city commission, or your local public school board. Here in Manhattan, 3 of 7 seats on the Manhattan-Ogden School Board are up for grabs this year. Leah McKeeman seeks to be elected to fill one of them. She's our guest today. We're visiting with her about her campaign. She filed this morning, brand new candidate, right?
Yes, I am.
Lots of stuff to do between now and the time that the election rolls around.
Yep.
I'm sure you have a punch list.
I do. I have my little checklist of things that I need to get done.
Fair enough. So the school board levies taxes, right? So when you think about your job, if you get elected, what will come first, school policy or lower property taxes?
Well, I think that this is where I need to listen and learn. As far as what comes first in the order of things, I'm not sure. But I do believe that we do need We do need affordable houses for teachers, new teachers that are coming in. We need to be exploring different options out there. And again, this is where I think that my ability to listen to different stakeholders involved with that, to kind of learn what the different hot button types of issues are and what is involved with all of that is going to be really beneficial.
How do you learn? How do you stay up to speed on things like that?
I listen to people. I talk to different people. I read books. I try to kind of stay attuned to what's happening. But I think that the best way to do this is to just interact and talk with people. We were mentioning over the break those relationships that you build with others. I think that's really a valuable way so that when you do have questions, you can go to people who do have the answers or are stakeholders in that situation, and you can talk with them and get more information.
Leah McKeeman is our guest. She's a candidate for the USD 383 Board of Education. There are 3 seats open on the school board this year. 4 candidates have filed so far. The filing deadline is a little more than 24 hours away, business-wise. It will be noon on Monday. If you try to file over the weekend, they probably won't let you in, but you can do it anytime between now and Monday noon. So this notion of learning, right, which sort of leads into a conversation about consensus building, right? It's a 7-member board. It takes 4 votes to move any policy. How do you build consensus?
I think you really have to listen. You have to listen. You have to understand where people are coming from. You have to find that middle ground to be able to collaborate and again, find that middle ground, figure out how to balance that.
Have you ever faced resistance when you were implementing a new idea or a new policy or a change?
Oh, of course.
How'd you deal with that?
Again, you have to figure out where those pieces are, what the concerns are, and a lot of times it's that misunderstanding or misinformation. If there is not clear communication, I think that's one of the pieces that is really essential, is that clear communication. The more questions that can be asked, the more information that can be shared, just allows community, families, school, whoever you're talking with, it allows them to see the big picture. And usually a lot of those challenges start to drift away when you can have some of those conversations and understand where people are coming from.
You can disagree without being disagreeable.
True.
Right, and that is a sort of a maxim that applies across society. School board's a big part of that. The school board, any locally elected jurisdictional governing body is going to encounter challenges. Right, is going to encounter people that have very specific ideas, and this is what I want to see done. Right, and they will be vocal. Right, and so when you see and encounter people that have that sort of mindset, how do you deal with them?
Listen, if they are passionate enough to come and to share their opinions, that's fantastic. I welcome that. And so listening, figuring out why they are so passionate about what they want to do and the reasons for that. So I think that's great.
When you think about the way that public schools are financed in Kansas, right? The state legislature spent a lot of time talking about school finance and how you basically pay for public education. That has not been without controversy over the years and over the decades. It's been in the courts. It's back in the legislative session arena. And the notion, though, is that every public student deserves an equal opportunity, right? Educational equity. And the way that has traditionally sort of manifested itself is in dollars, right? And so when you think about, let me ask you, how do you think about the concept of educational equity?
Giving everyone a chance to learn. Everyone needs that chance to have the opportunities, and it's not just to learn, but to grow and to be pushed. So you and I could have very different starting points. And so to say we need to be at the exact same point at the exact same time is not realistic. But it's taking you wherever you're at and moving you the next step, helping you grow. And I think that is what all of our students need, every single student, is to be able to be pushed, help them grow, help them achieve their goals. And I think that every student that we have within the public school system and, in general, they have their own goals. And so trying to figure out and align with what their goal is and how to keep them moving in that direction.
We are visiting with Leah McKeeman. She is a candidate for the USD 383 Board of Education. Her day job is involved with teaching teachers at Kansas State University. Give me the official title again.
Teaching assistant professor.
Okay, and you've been doing that for how long?
Oh, I've been doing that since 2009.
So that's a career.
Yes.
That is a calling, right?
Yes.
And when you think about why you do that, and when you think about what you hope to do in the service of all students at the school board level, do you think that here's a better question. How important is the notion of children getting an education?
It is paramount. It is, yes. Yes, kids need to be educated. Kids deserve a great education, not just a warm body in the classroom, but a world-class, stellar education. And I think that Manhattan 383 has an excellent school district. I really believe that. And I'm excited to say, what can we do next? What can that look like next? To not just be excellent, but to be stellar, world class.
And when you think about that, right, those are exactly the kind of policies and questions and conversations that the school board will be involved with, right? And we ask a lot of those whom we elect to the school board, right? We ask you guys to look around the corner, see what's coming, right? That you're right. You have to give the existing school board credit for being on top of this notion of screens in the classroom, right? And they've got a policy in place to do that. Do you have a sense of what might be around the corner? What these big picture challenges might be for public school systems, especially in our community?
There's always going to be a challenge, right? Sure. Whether they're little or big or everything in between. As I look, so my oldest son is a newly minted sophomore at Manhattan High School, and it is a bustling building. It is very full. It has a lot of students during that passing period, and I think that again. Excellent school. They have done a fantastic job of creating pockets of students to be able to have different clubs and whatnot to make it feel a little bit smaller. But as we look at that, I think that that's going to be something, we have very large elementary schools. We have very large middle schools, and our class sizes are growing. Even though we are a small school, it is growing. And so I think that we're going to have to have some discussions as far as what that looks like. How are we going to make those decisions down the road?
Policy decisions that get made generally, very often, start years before they're actually made, just in terms of community conversations. I know Eric Reed, the superintendent of 383, when you listen to him carefully, when he talks publicly, and this issue of do we need a second high school in Manhattan, he will say these words or something to this effect: we need to start the conversation.
Oh, for sure. I would agree with him. It's a big conversation for down the road. A very full, very bustling, vibrant, current high school right now. Looking down the road, I could see where there possibly could be a second school. But if there was a second high school, wouldn't it be cool to have it not look like a regular high school? Wouldn't it be neat to re-envision what that would be like? So it's not just the same structure, the same layout, the same organization of it, but to have maybe a STEAM school or a humanities school or satellite campuses to look at it a little bit differently. And I think that if we start the conversation early enough, we can have some creative ideas and creative conversations as far as what that might look like.
Leah McKeeman is our guest. She is a candidate for the USD 383 Board of Education, filed for office this morning. She, so far, is one of 4. I haven't looked it up lately, but this morning before we went on the air, there were 3 of you. You make 4, right? There may be others that file. If there's a sufficient number, there'll be a primary in August. If there's not, you will proceed to the general election in November. It is a political campaign, right? And so how do you think about the difference between a political campaign and getting elected and then actually serving once you are elected?
Well, they're 2 different beasts, I would say. The campaigning part, it's a new can of worms for me. I'm learning lots of skills. I'm learning lots of things that I was not aware of before. The actual serving piece, that's where I feel my wheelhouse is. Being in education, looking at school from different perspectives, different vantage points. That's where my comfort zone and my wheelhouse and where I'm really excited about. And everything in between, I'm learning as I go. I consider myself a lifelong learner, so it's a new vantage point that I'm able to expand on.
Do you have political heroes?
Oh, I love President Roosevelt and his quote, "The man in the arena."
Teddy?
Yes. That is a family favorite quote of ours. And it's about being out and throwing your hat in the ring and doing the work. And I think that there's a lot of validity to that. And again, that's one of the reasons that I don't want to just talk about how schools can look and how they can change and what we should be doing. I want to have a voice at the table. I want to put my hat in the ring as well.
So one of my political heroes is Nancy Kassebaum, a U.S. Senator from Kansas, who actually started her career as a school board member in Mays, Kansas, down near Wichita. Probably way too early to think of you and political aspirations down the line.
It was, but I remember on a field trip going and meeting her, so.
Fair enough. Leah McKeeman is an academician. She teaches literacy education, new literacies, world language education, second language acquisition at Kansas State University. As of today, she is also a candidate for the Manhattan-Ogden School Board. We'll have more with Leah McKeeman after the break. The Trust Company is an independent, locally owned wealth management and investment company founded right here in Manhattan in 1992. The motivation that drives your financial goals, your life, is unique to you and your family. You won't find boilerplate, template-driven, off-the-shelf financial services and strategies at the Trust Company, with plans that are thoughtfully and individually designed, tailored specifically to your hopes and dreams. The Trust Company, locally owned, client-focused. Their only allegiance is to you. Visit thetrustco.com.
This is Within Reason with Mike Matson on News Radio, KMAN.
Can you help me access my work computer now that I'm working from home?
We can do that. Is it possible for you to troubleshoot my computer without me coming into your store? We can do that.
I'm getting messages that my password's been compromised by hackers.
We can.
And that I have malware installed. I don't even go to the mall.
We can do all of that.
Fox Business Systems business level support. We can do that.
Call 776-1452 or stop by 531 Fort Riley Boulevard. WeBuildSolutions.com.
Hey Manhattan, it's time to celebrate. Summer is just around the corner and there is no better way to celebrate than an old-fashioned neighborhood barbecue get-together. Manhattan Day's annual celebration will be held June 7th town-wide. Designate a leader for your neighborhood. Sign up online by visiting our station website. Decide if you need to block off any streets. Reach out to all your neighbors. Set the barbecue site. Yes, someone's home. If streets need to be blocked off, the City of Manhattan is waiving the fee for this fun event. Call the Manhattan City offices before May 30th at 785-587-2480 to make arrangements to fill out some paperwork. On June 6th, if you registered your neighborhood, stop by the Flint Hills Bread Basket between 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. to pick up your free hot dogs, provided by Walmart of Manhattan, and hot dog buns provided by Hy-Vee and Dillon's. Let's celebrate Manhattan, our community, and our neighbors, together with its annual Manhattan Day on June 7th. Sponsored by Walmart, Hy-Vee, Flint Hills Bread Basket, Dillon's, City of Manhattan, The Mercury, and Manhattan Broadcasting. For more information, visit our station website and get registered for Manhattan Day.
At Stormont Vale Health, high-quality care is right around the corner.
Stormont Vale Health is more than just a hospital. We're an essential part of your community. Our commitment to quality health care means investing in the most skilled and talented providers and cutting-edge medical technology. Our investment in your well-being doesn't stop there. We also support various nonprofit programs throughout the communities we serve. Visit StormontVale.org and discover how we can serve you.
Stormont Vale Health. High-quality care, closer to home.
Stop. Look no further than Buck Roofing. For nearly 20 years, Buck has specialized in top-quality roofing, installation, and repairs for residential and commercial properties. Call for a free, no-obligation estimate. 785-230-9379.
Kansas weather can be unpredictable. If you're listening to us and you hear these beeps,
That means that we're expecting or experiencing severe weather within the Cayman listening area. Once a watch or warning condition has been handed down by the National Weather Service, we activate these beeps to indicate that you should keep listening as important weather information may follow. So again, if you hear this, stay tuned for weather information here on News Radio KMAN, your trusted voice for severe weather.
This is Within Reason with Mike Matson on News Radio KMAN.
At Kansas State University, Leah McKeeman teaches those who will become teachers in the methodology programs for French, Spanish, German, Chinese, and Japanese. You're not fluent, or are you fluent on all of those?
Not on all of those, no. I speak French, but I know enough, and as my students are teaching me, I know enough to get by.
Fair enough. And so in foreign languages, right, we're a global community. That's an important pedagogy.
Mm-hmm. It is. It is.
So help us understand what that looks like in terms of who's in your classroom.
Oh, I have a variety of people in my classroom of all ages. It's those individuals who truly they fell in love with culture, and typically that is they traveled abroad, they saw the world from a different viewpoint, or they're coming to the U.S. And exploring and wanting to share their culture with others as well. And so those are the people that are in my classroom, and they have a desire and a passion to share that perspective and that perspective with others and that language with others.
The industry in which you operate, right? Education, right? And when you think about public education, K through 12. During the pandemic, went through just an enormous crisis, right? It was just huge, and it was structure changing in many ways. So help us understand from your perspective. That's 5 years ago now, right? What that mean for you as an instructor at K-State?
You know, it was dynamic. We'll just put it that way. There was nothing static about that time. Being a mom of school-age kids. I had a preschooler and I had 3 elementary-age kids at the same time. And so doing that work and teaching my courses, there was a lot going on. And I think there was a lot of shifts that were happening that were good. Now, I will say I felt a little bit ahead of the game when my husband did his master's in Boston. I transported back and forth. I did some hybrid teaching. So I felt a little bit ahead of the game as far as I'd already done a little bit of that. So for my classes, I felt like I was going in that direction. And so it wasn't too out of the box. But there was a lot of things going on for our students. The neatest piece of that, I would say, is as I was preparing these students and as we're able to have these conversations, I was letting them know, I said, you are in the best profession and you have such a great opportunity to be sitting in our classrooms during this time, because as everyone is trying to just react to what was going on and instantaneously changing policies and putting things into place, they were able to sit back and think about that, be critical as far as what that looks like, so that as they're going in and starting to teach, the idea that they learned and they were teaching and student teaching through a pandemic, it was the way for them, and they had no problem with it.
It's a great point when you think about the notion that crises create opportunities, right? If you have time, or if you allow the time to have the critical second thought about what you're doing, if you make time, then it just elevates the status and the value of the work.
For sure. You know, so as they were going and they were interviewing, you would have them come back and they would always be saying, you know, there were questions about, well, what does this look like and how has that changed? And they didn't know any different. You know, this is how they were doing their student teaching. A lot of that was virtual or hybrid or some version of the two. And it just was the way. And I think that they were able to kind of be that focus and motion for change within the classrooms that they ended up in down the road.
Leah McKeeman is our guest today. Her day job is professor of education in the College of Education at Kansas State University. As of this morning, she is a candidate for the USD 383 Manhattan-Ogden School Board. So online learning versus classroom learning, we learned a lot in the pandemic. Is it safe to say that we found the sweet spot yet, or are we still trying to figure it out?
I don't know if there's ever going to be a sweet spot. I mean, we always are trying to find that. I will say that, you know, you had mentioned that teaching is obviously a career for me. It's not just a job. It's not something I just fell into. And even to this day, this summer, I am taking a Redesign Institute course to redesign my courses as well. There's never a time where I say, oh, I found it and I'm done. I'm constantly looking at it, re-envisioning my courses, trying to improve. And I think that's I hope that's a mark of a good teacher is not just sitting back on your laurels, but to really kind of push and stretch the envelope.
Leah McKeeman, as of today, is a candidate for the USD 383 Board of Education in the Manhattan and Ogden district. She filed today, paid the filing fee, signed your name on the documents. This is your first official campaign appearance.
It is.
So far, so good.
Is.
Has it been painful or painless? Help us
Painless.
understand.
I have appreciated being here. This has been great. I think it's wonderful what you're doing.
Well, it is again, it's the one thing that this news media vehicle can do that perhaps you're not going to be able to get anywhere else, right? Mm-hmm. And so we're live on the radio. We are being recorded as a podcast. So people who care about local government, people who care about the school district can listen to this now. They can listen to this later. They can listen to the way you answer these questions. They can listen to the way that you talk about what you want to do and make up their own mind.
Yep.
So when you think about what you've got going in the next several months, you're now a politician, whether you like it or not, right? So do you have a stump speech? Help us understand. Let's land this plane by asking Leah McKeeman to share with us why we should vote for her for the USD 383 Board of Education.
Well, see, I have a lot of learning because I don't know that I have a stump speech yet. But I will say the things that I'm bringing. One, I'm curious. I want to hear from. I want to hear from different stakeholders to say what is important, what are those priorities that we need to be bringing into the school district. Personally, I want to advocate for our students. I want to advocate for them to have incredible learning opportunities that are innovative, that really stretch them. So I want to advocate for our students. I want to empower our teachers. Teachers are such a huge part of what makes great education. And so I want to empower our teachers to be able to make curricular decisions, to make decisions for what's best for their kids in their classroom and stretch them. And then I also really want to really bring home that sense of communication, to be that liaison between the community and the district and have open communication.
Leah McKeeman is one of 4 so far candidates for the USD 383 School Board. The others are Courtney Jane Hockman, whom we hosted on this program earlier this month. Lou Faust is a retired USD 383 administrator, and Jamie Morris Hardiman, local social service nonprofit leader who is seeking re-election. We've got both of them scheduled for appearances on Within Reason later this summer. Again, the filing deadline is Monday at noon. If someone else files, we'll invite them on as well to have that conversation. Our gratitude today to Stephen Schaefer, who is pinch hitting for Within Reason producer Lainey Henry. Next week, Kansas Secretary of State Scott Schwab will be in town to address the Boys State Convention, which is underway at K-State next week. He's also running for governor, and so he will join us Monday and talk about an election that's still a year and a half away. Thanks for listening.
Manhattan's first for news, sports, weather, and talk since 1950. This is News Radio KMAN, Manhattan.